Asian small-clawed otters reside in small rivers, marshes and mangroves. They are the smallest of the 13 species of otters. Their dexterous, sensitive paws with claws with short nails are suited to their natural diet and are how they got their name. This is Brian, Flo and Pebbles. These 3 otters are siblings from the same letter, which mimics the group dynamics they would have in the wild. In the wild, Asian small-clawed otters are largely carnivorous. Their diet varies from region to region, but mostly consists of crustaceans, mollusks and small fish, with reptiles and amphibians also being eaten when the others are in short supply. In captivity, it is difficult to mimic this, so a variety of diets are being used, including various types of fish and minced red meat, pre-prepared feline feeds or a mixture of both. To meet the nutritional requirements, zoos may also need to give their otters vitamin supplements. Zoos are a far cry from what they were 20 years ago. With their main focus on conservation and education, welfare has taken huge steps forward in most zoos. Welfare of not only zoo animals has changed since then. The basic standards of animal welfare have evolved from when they were first laid out in the Bramble Report in 1965, which was written in relation to farm animals. This report outlined the original 5 freedoms, which meant an animal must be able to stand up, lie down, turn around, groom, and stretch their limbs. Obviously, these are very basic outlines of welfare that were thankfully reworked in 1979 by the Farm Animal Welfare Council to lay out the 5 freedoms we know today. Freedom from hunger and thirst. Freedom from discomfort. Freedom from pain, injury and disease. Freedom to express normal behaviour and freedom from fear and distress. Though most zoos have the welfare of their animals as a top priority, legislation to back this up is limited. They are only protected under the Zoo Licensing Act 1981 and the Dangerous Wild Animals Act 1976, which lay out only basic welfare standards. However, there are organisations such as BIAZA, the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which hold their members to a much higher standard in terms of welfare, including enclosure specifications and enrichment, as well as physical and mental health and the animals' social lives. The organisation also provides care manuals for all their members, which must be followed. Accurate record keeping of the welfare and behaviours of the animals is essential in recognising changes and possible causes of them. ZIMS is a programme which allows zoos to store information about each individual animal, such as their parentage and health records, and is an easy way to keep track of their animals' histories. This information is also useful for the stud books, used for conservation breeding programmes. Good welfare indicators are physically healthy animals who display a wide range of natural behaviours. This includes things such as body, skin and coat condition, good social interactions with other animals, or positive interactions with their environment. Indicators of poor welfare that must be looked out for are stereotypical behaviours known as stereotypies, reduced food intake, or an unkempt, patchy coat. Stereotypies are a result of one or more of the animal's welfare requirements not being met and can manifest in many forms. The most well-known of these is probably pacing, which is particularly common in carnivores. There are, however, many other behaviours classed as stereotypies, including crib biting, which is especially common in herbivores such as horses, swaying, path tracing, and self-harm. Stereotypies can also arise because of hand rearing. The animals become habituated to spending longer periods of time with humans, and as a result, this can develop heightened aggression, poor social skills, and a lack of good parenting behaviours, which can become an issue later in life, especially with group living animals. Several ethograms were used to observe the behaviours of the otters and assess whether they express any problem behaviours. A welfare assessment was carried out to determine what requirements may be missing. Though generally Brian, Flo and Pebbles have very good welfare, they do display begging behaviours, which is a known problem in captive otter populations. This behaviour can be a result of lack of food-based enrichment and associating people with feeding times, as it's the only time they interact with keepers. This is the behaviour that will hopefully be lessened using enrichment. Enrichment is meant to stimulate the animals to perform behaviours they would in the wild, and combined with an environment that stimulates its natural habitat, helps to decrease the risk of stereotypical behaviours developing. Preventing an overly stressful living environment for the animals also aids in maintaining good welfare. Because begging is a problem in these otters, not only immediately before food but throughout the day, the aim is to use enrichment to stimulate the otters more during feeding time to try and lessen this. The log will have several cutouts and float on the water, meaning the otters will have to put more energy into obtaining their food than they do now. They will have to swim as well as using their instinctual foraging skills to find the correct hole containing the food. Then they will need to use their dexterous hands to remove the food from the cutout. Theoretically, because the otters will spend more time and energy on obtaining their food, it will keep them occupied for longer and have stimulated their brains, so it will lessen the begging behaviours. Hopefully, with regular use of this enrichment, these behaviours will stop completely. At first, they are hesitant of the new addition to their pool, but before long the promise of food and their curious nature wins out. They go to investigate. Almost immediately, Pebbles manages to grab a piece of fish, leaving the other two to continue searching. This mimics their dynamics in the wild. Despite living in a group, each otter hunts its own food. With the two still searching, Pebbles is back to try her luck again. Brian manages to retrieve a piece of fish and quickly takes it away to eat in peace. With the reluctance to share from the others, Flo continues her hunting. Finally, all three otters have had their fill. Once all the food is gone and the fun has been had, Brian, Flo and Pebbles make the most of the sun and rest after their high-energy food hunt. The enrichment encouraged them to continue their natural foraging behaviours, even after the food was gone, and for the rest of the day begging behaviours were absent. This is an excellent result and proof that the enrichment was as successful as we hoped. With time and repeated use, Brian, Flo and Pebbles can hopefully spend their time on other tasks and give their voices a rest.